You can ask any billionaire, any 100 millionaire, any agency owner that's successful. You can ask anybody that has teams. They will tell you cannot get where they're at without other people helping them. It's impossible.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Annuity Fundamentals. I am your co-host Kylie Malag, joined with Ryan Anderson, and today we have a very special guest, Richard Cavaness. Richard, we met him, or I should say Rich. We met him a few weeks ago at Roy Snar's event, and I was totally blown away. He has the knowledge and ability to grow and scale your business. So hopefully we get some good nuggets from him today and really talk about, hey, what am I good at and what is my niche and how can I help sustain and grow it? So thank you so much, Rich, for joining us. We're excited to have you.
Kylie, I am honored to be here. Brian, good to see you guys. It's not been too long. We've seen each other a lot over the last 30 days, actually, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
8% Nation, 8%,
Yep.
and now an annuity producers that there in Austin. So yeah, it's been great to see you guys.
It's been a great time, and I've been really excited to visit with you because most of the guests we have on here are life and health agents. You're not. You're a farm and ranch specialist, as far as, and which is a niche thing. And you said that I know my niche, I stay in my niche, I'm good with it. You've been in the business for 15 years. You started an agency from scratch. You sold it. You went through, bought another agency for after 4 years, doubled its value, sold it again, and you've recently started another agency. So there's some real experience there as far as taking something from nothing and building it, taking something that's there and making it more valuable. So today, that's what we're going to talk about, is that it's not how do you convert to annuities. It's not how to go through and how to get increase more Medicare sales. But this is more of a business type of approach. Yeah. This is more of a management. This is more of a how you take and make a successful organization. So you've got somebody who's basically at the kitchen table. They are a one-man band. They're the marketing department, the sales department, the compliance department, and all of those things. What kind of counsel and advice would you give to them?
Well, I think the most importantly, Ryan and Kylie, is it all starts, first of all, the most important thing is the mindset. When you start an insurance agency, you need to realize that you're actually starting a business. It's not something to play with. It's not a job. It's a bona fide actual business. And I can speak from very personal experience because I've sold 2 agencies now. They can pay you back. If you feed them, they'll pay you back. And so it's really about the mindset. And, I like to use a very easy to understand example of this. Most people know who Robert Kiyosaki is. If you don't, you need to get to know him. But he wrote a book called Cash Flow Quadrant. And that book will change your life. And I recommend every agency owner should read the book Cash Flow Quadrant, because he basically spells it out very, very simply that you're either an E, an S, a B, or an I. All right? An E stands for an employee. So you're a W-2er. You basically trade your hours and your time for a paycheck. S stands for self-employed. Now it's you, but you've kind of bought into a job, right? Because you're doing everything. You're self-employed. You're basically putting in unlimited hours. You're available to everybody 24/7. All of those kind of things. So that's what self-employed is. When you go to the business owner, it's a huge jump from self-employed to business owner because it's a mindset. You start to think team. You start to think scale. You start to think your vision starts to get really big, national, nationwide. You start thinking like that kind of thing, statewide, those type of things, multiple agencies, where you're actually building a team, and that team helps you to build your agency. And so what ends up happening is that you take a step back from production. I can tell you for sure, up until just recently, that I haven't done a quote for insurance in like 4 years, because every time I got a referral, every time that I got somebody sending me something, I gave it to my team members and they took care of it. right? And that's another really key point that I'll talk to you about as far as branding goes. You do need to be careful of that. If everything is about your name and you build a big name for yourself, then you have to be careful, because if you go to sell your asset, people buy your name, and now what do you have? Now you've got your name, but I can't really utilize your name very well. So in the insurance space, it's actually really important for you to build your team, your processes, and your systems, and not you so much. And that's something that I've really discovered. But you got to treat the agency as an asset. You got to invest in it. What I find is that insurance agency owners are either investing in it or they're taking from it. Right? They're a lifestyle producer for them, or you're an investor and you're actually investing in it, which is what an I does. So as a business owner, you take your profits from your business and then you invest it into other income producing assets, real estate, other businesses, other streams of income, whatever that might look like. But you become this person who's basically just managing. You're strategically planning. You're looking at hiring as many people as you can so that they can help produce and build that agency for you.
I hope someone took notes. When you're listening to that, I desperately hope that you were taking notes, because I have never heard someone explain it quite that way. So thank you.
And the other thing too is that you need to come into this with a 5-year vision and a plan. This is the one thing that I see new agency owners they don't have this in place. They think they're just going to open the doors, they're going to reach out to all their friends and family, and they're going to just rock this thing. But you need to have a vision. You need to have a plan in place. And then you need to put action. You need an actionable plan, break it down into 90-day chunks, and just, because what I do is I have a 5-year business plan, and then I have a yearly plan that I put together, and then I break that yearly plan down into 90-day chunks. So I kind of know where I want to go in 5 years, and then, because you don't want to get too far out, because if you get too far out, then it becomes something like too far out there. But 5 years is good, and then you break it down into each year and then into 90-day chunks, and so that you know what those activities that you have to do to really build your business.
One of the things you said, a couple of things that really impressed me, and that I've actually had personal experience with. I remember when I was my first in the insurance world. I've been in the insurance business for about 10 years, and I started out as a Medicare agent. Did not know anything. It was started in September, and we had AEP roll around. So August 27th was my first day. I had a month of trying to figure it out and get appointed with companies, and then AEP happened, the annual enrollment period for Medicare, and I was on my own. And I sold a whole bunch of policies, and I actually did really well with that. Then the next year I did the same thing. I built and I built and I built. And then I went through, and then the third year, by this point in time, I was in management. I had a team of agents, and the agency owner was like, all right, Ryan, I want you to go up to this other town. We're going to build a new office for you. We want you to open up this whole area, and you're going to go and you're going to basically expand our business into these 3 or 4 states or whatever it was. And I was like, holy heck. And it was a huge task. And I was sitting there, but I was technically a manager and a team builder. But my problem was my book of business, where all my clients was in a town that was 6 hours away. And so I was driving back and forth twice a month. I drive down there, stay 3 or 4 days, service my clients, drive back. And I did this for about a year. And the business where I'd moved to was totally failing. We were growing-ish, but not. And he finally sat me down and says, okay, are you an agent or a manager? Are you going to... And he says, you need to walk away from your clients. We'll give them to somebody else, delegate it out, but you need to focus on the business. You need to focus on building agents, focus on building offices, and went from there. I was making about $100,000 a year right then, but literally the next year I tripled my income because I actually started to be basically do the business owner mentality where I was building teams, I was building stuff out. And that mental shift, I didn't work any harder, I worked differently.
Yes.
Is that kind of an example of what you're talking about here?
Absolutely. And another book that I would highly recommend for agency owners to read is by Michael Gerber. It's called The E-Myth. And basically, if I was to summarize in one sentence what that whole book was about, is that you need to work on your business and not in your business. All right? So if you're going to be a business owner, you work on it, not
Hmm.
in it, right? And so you have to have a whole different mentality, a whole different mindset. There's some people that are so controlling and they want to micromanage so much that they feel like, well, if I'm not doing this, then it's not going to get done right. Well, it certainly won't
Yeah.
get done the same as if you did it, that's for sure, but it could get done pretty close to the way you would do it and better because somebody else has a different way of doing it. But I just find
Hmm.
when you release the control and you allow people to be themselves and do their thing and empower them. That's the key word, empower them. Then that's where you actually start to experience freedom. You can take off for several weeks and you don't have to worry because your business is running. You got people and you got a team running it and everything's, moving along very nicely.
I worked for this one organization, and the gentleman who owned it and started it sat down, and he was actually the same guy that told me that I needed to actually be a manager and be a business builder and not just an agent anymore. And he said that bring people on, trust them to do what they need to have done, but know if you were to explain to them in great detail, spend hours training them, give them all the skills, all the tools, so that they know everything that you know, they're only going to do it 80% to what you will. That other 20% is going to be them. And sometimes that's bad, but most of the time it's much, much better. And I take that and I compare it to another individual that I worked with for a number of years. Great guy, great, wonderful, very knowledgeable, very caring, very a lot of integrity. Everything about him was great. Micromanager could not let go. And it was, hey, we need to have somebody do a website. Well, I'm going to go online and develop that. I'm watching YouTube videos so that I can do that. We need to do some SEO. I'm watching YouTube videos. I'm going to do that. And whatever it is, that was the answer. 5 years later, nothing had happened. We were exactly where we were with the same company size, everything else, because all this was a bottleneck to him, and he wasn't willing to delegate and spend the resources to get experts in, and the whole organization suffered.
Yeah.
So,
And a lot of agency owners, Ryan, they look at staffing and building a team, they look at it as an
mhm,
expense. I've always looked
mhm,
at it as an investment.
yeah,
Because the truth is that you cannot scale. You can't build anything. You can ask any billionaire, any 100 millionaire, any agency owner that's successful. You can ask anybody that has teams. They will tell you cannot get where they're at without other people helping them. It's impossible. So, it's really important to grasp that concept.
one of the things about it is I've got a couple of partners that Kylie is one of them that everybody's familiar with, but we've got a third one, Angelique, who sits in the background, and then we've got a couple of others that do their thing. We all have our own space. And my business partner, Angelique, is amazing in the fact that she sees things differently than I do. And I've got to tell you that we're in meetings and it's frustrating as all get out. Because she will looking at the same thing and it's a blue square. And I say, that's a blue square. She says, well, it's not really a blue square. It's more purple. And is it really a square or is it a diamond? And if we were to take those corners off, it could become an octagon. And I'm being exaggerating this, but she sees it differently. And as a result of that, our differences are really our strengths. And so the fact that we can sit here and at times have a heated conversation about what we should do, but the fact that we respect each other enough that we can have those conversations, and it elevates everything, that we're not worried about offending each other because we trust each other and we've got very different skill sets.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing.
Yes,
Now,
absolutely.
so let's talk a little bit about niches or niches. Niche, what's the proper word?
I can go both ways.
Yeah, well, one of the things you said about it when we were talking about before we started recording is that
Yeah.
you know your niche, and so you stay in it.
Yep.
How did you identify that? If I'm I am a whatever it is. Is there a process you've gone through to identify this is an area that there's a real opportunity?
Well, yes. Okay. So it really comes down to focusing on number one, what you do well, and then kind of where you want to take your business. Everybody kind of has a niche that they focus on,
Mhm.
but I will say that one of the biggest challenges that a lot of these general lines, that do auto, home, commercial, motorcycles, boats, life insurance, annuities, all, the whole ball of wax, even when you add in financial services. The challenge is that you become like too generalized almost. You're
Mhm.
all things to all people. What you'll find is if you really do market research, the people who make the most money in the world are the ones that focus on a niche that they do really, really well. That's why people who are in coaching, when you call yourself a life coach, yes, I acknowledge there's a space for it, but it is also very general, right? And like for me, I do coaching, but I focus on agency owners in the insurance industry. That's it. That's all I talk to. That's all I coach. I don't get outside of that. I stay within it. I've even had people trying to get in to have me coach them on some sales and business stuff, and I just tell them my niche is this, and this is where I'm good, and that's where I'm going to stay. And so, farm and ranch, I actually started out in the insurance industry at age 24 in the farm and ranch space. I started there, and so I got very good at it. I loved it. I love the people. I love going out to the farms and ranches. I just love dealing with that type of clientele. They just resonate well with me. And being from the Pacific Northwest and growing up around that, it just seems like it fits naturally with me. People who are a metro person, you may want to, do something that's more metro, maybe some small business commercial policies, or your regular auto home, or maybe you want to focus on some specific homes. Maybe you want to do like over any just homes over 650,000, or whatever. I mean, form something that most people are not doing, and you're going to find that there's a niche there, right? And so that's kind of I think after years and years of really doing it both ways, I've realized that having the niche and then just going for it is a lot more advantageous to you. Well, we were just at a conference where they do annuities, right? That's what they do. That's they're not venturing out here. They're not venturing out to do this. They're not doing P&C. That's for sure, right? They're just focusing on annuities, and and they're doing very well at it, right? And so if it's going to be life insurance, I guess focus on the life insurance, and so anyway, I guess the point is, if you're going to build your agency, make sure you build it. And if hey, here's another great way to build to scale is, so maybe your niche is this. Maybe you hire somebody who's better at this, right? And then you let them run with it. They're in your agency, let them build it and let them scale it. I've done that, and I've enjoyed that too. Some people are. I've had a couple people that were really good at some small business commercial. I was not. That wasn't kind of my specialty, but I had a couple in my office. They loved it, and I empowered them. I said, "Hey, go for it." Gave them a good comp plan for it, and sure enough, they wrote a lot of it. So it's all about finding what it is that you enjoy doing, and then going after that.
It's a couple of different things. So you've said several things in that really struck a chord with me. The first, figure out what you're good at.
Yep.
I have got, again, Angelique, my other partner. She and I are probably, if you combine us, a very one of the best annuity agents you'll ever see out there. I like the case design. I like the close. I like the puzzle of trying to look at the financial situations. I'm a financial advisor, so I've got pieces there that are really nice. She is much better at the relationship piece. She's much better at follow up. She's much better at the fact finding. And if you put us together, those are all things that are required and needed for that. And one of the things, like with Annuity Fundamentals, our company, where we train agents to add annuities to their process. We have them sit down, and the very first class is write out who your ideal client is. And when I say that, I want you to take political correctness off the table. Are we talking, and I use this example, we've got an agent who's down in the Salt Lake area who is of the Pacific Rim Asian descent. and she generally tends to work with folks the same language and sort of the same
Makes
cultural
sense.
background.
Yep.
And it does. We've got another agent we work with that's down in the Las Vegas area that specializes in working with widows and single ladies that, for whatever reason, they gravitate towards him, and he is able to really help them well. We've got another individual that goes through and that specifically likes working with folks of another ethnic background with a specific religion they belong to. Again, totally and completely politically incorrect. But one of the things about it is I sat down and I tell them is like, this is something, write it out for you, what works for you, and go from there. For me, I like folks that are rural, semi-rural, with assets under $2 million. And if they get beyond that, and for me personally, I can help them. I will generally bring in somebody with me, but they want a more sophisticated case than I am generally able or willing to provide. And and I tell folks that I am about making sure that if you've got $100,000, you want to turn it into $1 million over the next 3 or 4 years, I am not your guy. But if you want to make sure you never run out of money, if you want to make sure you know exactly where your income's coming from, I can show you how to do that all day long, better than probably a lot of the folks that are out there. I know the people that I want to work with, and we kind of go from there. And it works out really well if you can take the time and identify that.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. Even when I'm going to be doing Social Security seminars and kind of generating some annuity sales and long-term care and those type of things, Ryan. But I'm still going to be very focused on the farm and ranch community. I'm going to be doing them in farm and ranch communities, and that's still going to be my target market. So, it's just like I said, just focus on what you do well, and then let everybody else have everything else. So, I'd rather have 1% of a 1,000 and every one of them is just doing a lot of business with me than to have 1% of trying to have 25 30,000, whatever. So I just find that if you can do a little bit better with a really niche group, it's the same thing in writing a book. I've written 6 books. You want to define your target market before you even write the book, and then you write the book towards that market, and then you market that book at that market. So all your Facebook ads, everything is going to be geared towards that client, that target audience, right? Because otherwise you're just kind of throwing money away if it's not geared towards that market.
All right, so let's just do a quick recap here on this. First thing was we want to read the book Cash Flow Quadrant.
Yes.
That is a foundational piece to identify whether you're an employee, you're self-employed, you're a business owner, you're an investor, the ESBI, to get all of those things down there.
Yes.
Another great book that you recommend is Michael Gerber's E-Myth. Yes. Now, you have done coaching and you work with agency owners still. I assume you do still do the coaching because you've written a lot of books. You're also building your own agency.
Yes.
If I wanted to have you and come in and help coach me in my agency, how would I reach out to you? And I want to be an agent. I want to get in the farm and ranch. I want to do this stuff and I want to become a part of your agency. How would I do that? So let's 2-part question. Let's go ahead and hit the first one first.
2-part question actually has one answer. So I'll even really try to make things easy, right? I got an 800 number, so people can call me at 888 752-4467, or they can go directly to my website, CavanessInsuranceAgency.com. There'll be a contact form on there. Can fill it out, and then I can reach out to them. But that would probably be the 2 best ways. And then my cell phone is 214-924-5693. Love to talk with you. Even if people just have questions, I'm happy to help them with that.
All right. Well, that's amazing stuff. Now, the thing about it, and you, again, as far as the personal one-on-one coaching, you want to deal with insurance agency owners. It's probably, if you're a district manager or something along those lines, that wouldn't be a good fit.
No.
But we need to be an agency owner.
Yeah.
Any specific size of agency you like to work with, you've had the greatest deal of success with?
Yeah, very good question.
Across the board?
I would say probably those that are in the 5 to 10 million range annual premium. Probably somewhere between let's say 1,500 to maybe 6,000 PIF, something like that. So in that range, I would call them more of like a mid-range type insurance agency, because what a lot of those owners are wanting to do is go to that next level. And there's going to need to be some processes, systems. There's going to need to be some coaching to kind of really help them get to that next level.
Rich, I thank you for this. This is valuable stuff. I mean, as far as for a new agent getting started, absolutely spectacular. Thank you so much for coming on board with us. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
It's been a pleasure, Ryan.
To everyone else, thanks so much and appreciate you joining us. We'll see you next time.